I'm going to talk about my propane torch setup a little bit. I know propane's a little bit different. Some people are familiar with using that in a torch system, and some may not be. So I'll point out the differences, but as far as cutting, you know, if you're cutting every day with an acetylene torch, then you're probably going to notice a difference between acetylene and propane. If you're like me, small shop, you know, hobby level metalwork, propane, it works great. It's cheap. I think the main difference from what I've heard is that the propane takes a little bit longer on the initial heat up, but then once it's heated up, you know, it's a great cutting gas. So my little setup here, I've got it on a dolly just to wheel it around the shop easier, or outside when I need it outside. So I'll show that. So the regulator that I have on the oxygen tank it's a Smith's regulator, and this was actually a regulator that my grandfather had and used, and my dad had and used. Both of them are passed away now. So you know, that's kind of special to me that I have something with a little bit of, you know, sentimental value that I can use on a regular basis. The striker that's hanging on the regulator, that was also one of my grandfather's. And the propane tank, I don't think my grandfather ever used it for a torch, but I just remember seeing it sitting around the shop when I was a kid. And my dad actually had a small torch kit set up with it. So the things that I didn't have, of course, the actual torch, the hoses, regulator for the propane, which I'll show you that. Again, this is a Forney regulator, and it's actually an acetylene regulator, so you don't have to have a special regulator. I'll point that out right here. It's just an acetylene regulator, so you don't have to have a special regulator to run the propane. I think the main difference as far as setup, and you're not going to be able to see this, I'm sure, but I can get this to focus. The inside of the tip, it's a two-piece tip, and it's a star shape on the inside, and you can tell that it's inset. That would be the main difference between acetylene and propane, the torch tip. But other than that, the rest of my setup is just a standard torch setup. So I've taken this two-wheel dolly, set my tanks right on the front of it, strapped them to it, and those are hard wheels. You know, they don't take any air, so I don't ever have to worry about it having a flat. And it's handy just to be able to wheel that thing. You know, it's completely portable. It's self-contained, and I can wheel that thing around wherever I need it. So when I'm done, I just wrap my hoses like so on the back of it and park it here in the garage where I can keep it clean and keep it out of the elements. I do leave my tanks off, my hoses drained, so of course that's no different than acetylene. You don't want to leave them under pressure or with gas in the lines. So anyway, that is my propane torch setup. It's something a little bit unique to some, and I really like it. It's worked great for me. Does a fantastic job. So it's something you might look into if you're getting ready to set up a torch set. You may already have a 20-pound propane cylinder or 100-pound propane cylinder setting around. I think that's a 30 gallon or 30 pound. I haven't seen that style around in a long time, but they still refill it. So anyway, it was a pretty cheap setup other than what I had to spend on hose, torch, and regulator, but that was just because that was the stuff I didn't have. So anyway, thanks for watching.